Derek Ostovani, and this is My Penguin Live. I start off this lecture with a simple, strong opener that will really set the tone. The card is selected and lost in the pack. The magician explains that this is a basic in card magic. When the card is selected, lost, and shuffled in the deck, like they all are, the spectator is asked to cut exactly where they think their card is. Stop. Right there, I'm going to cut exactly at that card. Was that fair?
Yeah, I'd say that was fair.
And fails to find it. The magician turns it into a better trick and magically changes it into the selection. Is it magic? Is it psychology? Or is it blinding sleight of hand skill? It's up to the spectator to decide. Next up is illusion in the box. The four aces are magically produced and then used to create an illusion. A card is selected, signed, and placed in the card box. One at a time, the four aces become the signed selected card and then create the illusion.
Actually, not only sticks with one card, but two cards, three cards, and all four cards. But we know from the very beginning that I told you that this was going to be an illusion. So you know that that was never the eighth, but it was an ace. And in fact, that was an ace, that was an ace, and that's an ace.
Realizing it must be an illusion, since their card is obviously in the box, they realize the true illusion is that you never had their card in the box, because when the box is dumped out, it's the four aces, and their selection remains the only card in your hand, a real kicker ending.
Hi guys, welcome to Conversation with a Conjuror. I'm Daniel Rivington. With me as always is Alex Johnson, and today we've got a very special guest, Derek Ostovani. How you doing, Derek? You all right?
I'm good, yes. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
I felt like that intro is something that you'd see on like a really cheesy news broadcast.
Hey guys, welcome to
Coming at ya.
The worst one's like the voice on what is it? The stupid UFO one. What's it called? Ancient
Aliens.
Yeah. That guy's stupid.
I'm not saying that it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Did I say it in a YouTube voice? A cringe voice?
Oh no, you said it in a very English voice.
Oh, English. Well, I'm glad it's not complete YouTube cringe. Anyway, Derek. So you how long have you been doing magic?
I've been doing magic for 18 years now.
18 years. And what got you into it when you first started?
So I started when I was 21, but as a child, I loved magic. I always gravitated towards it. Anytime it was around, it would excite me. But I didn't know how to get into it. I didn't know anything about magic prior to the time that I did get into it. And I was at a magic shop in Vegas, and they demoed something, and it caught my eye. And I thought to myself, if I buy this, I too can do what they just did.
It all starts in Vegas.
It always starts in Vegas. Not everything is in
magic.
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah. So I bought it, and it literally changed my world and my life and my career.
Do you remember the effect?
And what was the first trick you bought?
I do remember the effect. It's the classic UFO.
Is it the one that goes around?
Yeah.
That's the same one that I saw.
Really?
Caesar's Palace. It was like 2002, 2003 family vacation to Vegas.
Oh, the ancient alien
shop. He had the thing, going all the way around. He was like, I got to learn how to do that stuff.
Oh, so good. Yeah, it was 2006 for me, but yeah, it was super popular at the time.
I really haven't really seen many people really even do that anymore.
You see it on like street magic videos, don't you? Like some guy in the Philippines will be doing it, and everyone will be like, he's got supernatural powers.
I mean, I really haven't seen, hardly anybody, do that.
You know who does that really well and does it on a regular basis as their opener is Nick Lacapo.
Oh yeah, I met him at Blackpool. He's the Penguin magic guy.
Yes, he's very nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of Penguin magic, you've got a couple of releases with Penguin.
I do. I have my Penguin lecture, as well as an effect called Treasury, where you change the signature on a borrowed bill. And then I have what's called Random Odds, which is a download. And that is a layered effect. And it's fun fact, it's supposed to be called Borrowed Odds because you can borrow everything. You can borrow because it uses a phone, a bill, and a deck, which you can borrow all three. I mean, likely you're not going to borrow the deck, but in theory you could. And and random numbers get multiplied, random cards get shuffled, and the cards that get shuffled match the order of the numbers people multiplied, which matches the serial number on a borrowed bill.
And that was on your website?
They're on my website. I did put it out through Penguin, but yes.
Okay, I will overlay it right here.
Perfect.
And that's www.derekostovani.com. Is that it? DerekOstovani.com.
So on your website though, you got the treasure, you got random odds and horizontal mambo.
Horizontal Mambo is another thing I recently released. I debuted it at a convention in North Carolina called Tri-C, and it's my take on an anniversary waltz, but it is completely impromptu, and it's 4 phases. So one person selects a card, another person finds it, then the other person selects a card, and the opposite person finds it, and then those 2 cards come together in the deck. So those are three moments. Okay. And then the final kicker ending is the 2 cards come together with the signature on both signatures on one card.
All right. So I will cut right here. I'll cut right
horizontal mambo.
But just real quick, do you have promo videos of that on your website?
Not of the horizontal mambo because that's the newest, but on the other ones, yeah.
Okay, well, I can't put that one there. Which one would you like?
The name?
Yeah, this is paused. I'll edit all this out. Which one would you like at the very first of the video? Kind of like to promote you. I'll take a note.
I guess my Penguin lecture because it's the most amount of content.
Okay. All right, so I'll put that at the very beginning of it after our little intro. I'll have that. Then it'll jump into where we started. And then when I said, all right, I'll cut this out. And okay, action.
Got it.
So the name Horizontal Mambo, that sounds like a euphemism for something. Would you like to go into any detail on what that is, you naughty boy?
It just kind of it fits my personality and my humor. And then it kind of makes sense, right? It's horizontal. It's on the table. And it's a mambo, right?
I am joking. You don't have to go into any detail about that.
So, Dan, you asked how me and Derek got in contact and how this all started out.
I said save it for the podcast. I said save it for the podcast because you said it was interesting, and this podcast is usually not interesting. So go ahead.
Do you want to tell a bit of the story? You want me to tell it, Derek?
I can tell it, and then you can chime in.
Yeah, let me hear your perspective of it, and I'll see how that lines up, because it's pretty ridiculous.
Okay, so Alex had reached out to me via Instagram, and I don't believe we were friends at the time. And he messaged me and said, "Hey, I was looking at your website and looking to build my own and have somebody build it, and I'm going back and forth with this company, and they said they build your website." And I said, no, that doesn't sound right. It did have my website built, but it wasn't adding up from the company that he was talking to. They were an Indian-based company, and Alex kept, kind of going back and forth with them. And no matter what he asked them, they would come up with something like, "Oh yeah, well we're outsourced, but yeah, we did his website." And he fished and asked more and more questions. And I believe, Alex, you were on hold with them for a long time, and then they just hung.
So
you helped him stop getting schemazzed.
Okay, now it's pretty close. It's pretty close. But what it was is I build websites, Derek. So I build websites for other people, and I got a call. I guess it was a scam call or whatever, and I answered it just to mess around with them, not really being serious. And they were saying they make websites. And so I was like, okay, I'll entertain them. I want to know what other websites they made. And so they were asking about my magic website. And so then they said, oh, we made a website for this guy, named Derek Ostovani. I was like, okay, let me see his site. So they showed me his website. I was like, damn, this looks really, really damn nice. This looks good. And then I thought they were a scam. I had a feeling that they were a scam anyway, but I was going to, humor the idea. And so looked you up on Instagram, and come to find out you were already following me. So that's whenever I messaged you. And I was like, and so I told him, I was like, hey, this guy here, he's already following me. I'm going to message him. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. But let's just go ahead and take the deposit down to make this website. I'm like, no, I'm going to talk to him first. And they want to insist that, they made his site. And he's like, nope, that's not how it happened.
Yeah. Well, you had a good sense that they were scammers.
Well, anytime you get a call from people advertising products, it's probably a scam. But, I did actually give one of those companies similar to that a chance to make a logo. I gave them $30 and they made a logo for me for another company. It wasn't any good, but hey, they were probably trying to set me up for the big scam. So one good thing came out of that, though,
Yeah.
You cut out there at the end. What did you say?
Oh, I said at least they followed through and didn't lie to you.
Well, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to get me to give them a little bit of money, and then they're going to try to scam me for a lot of money, for like the whole full 1,000 or whatever for the web design.
It's usually how it works.
Yeah. So all because of a scam call, we got you on the show. Oh yeah, and so as I was looking at your website and everything, I was seeing how you have, it's very professional, very sleek. Do you do more like corporate events for everybody that is watching that might not know about you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, corporate events are my bread and butter. I do a lot of corporate events, trade shows. I do private events as well, weddings. But kind of the adult scene is my preference. It's sophisticated magic. I'm not doing balloon magic or anything like that.
So kind of what I thought, for this episode would be for you to kind of walk us through the beginning of your career. Looking there in your background, you have quite a bit of equipment. You said you were doing some, web shows during the COVID thing. But how did your career progress? For everybody, he's in San Diego, so he's in a large city, so there's a lot of opportunities there. So how did you go from just being a start, if you're doing bar magic for free for your buddies, to moving through to being built up to where you are now, to getting to the point to having a very nice professional website?
So it's a good question. So as I mentioned, I got into magic when I was 21, but at that time I was on the path to be an engineer, and I was going to school for it, studying it. And when I found magic, I fell hardcore in love, very passionate, to the point where I knew it was going to be part of my life forever. And when you're younger and you decide you want to study something, you don't truly know what is all involved. Right. But I didn't want to do anything silly, and so I maintained my studies, graduated, got a job in the field, and continued doing magic. I'd done magic for about a dozen years, and then at some point, I said to myself, I really want to make this leap. And it's a scary leap to go from something, a stable income, to something seemingly unstable. Yeah. And I get to the point where I said, I'm going to make this jump, and I'm going to give myself a year. And if I can make at least as much as I did as a beginning engineer, then this is a no-brainer. And so I did just that. Like I said, I had a dozen years under my belt. It's not like I just, oh, magic's great, let's do it as a living. But like I said, it was a scary thing. But when you decide something and you say, this is it, this is my sole source of income, you're going to work your butt off.
Now, also, have you always been in San Diego? Have you always been, right there in an area where, first off, it's expensive to live in San Diego. But second, there's also, there's a lot of people and a lot of opportunities. So have you always, been there in the San Diego market?
Yeah, for the most part. I grew up in LA, moved to San Diego. When I found magic, I was living in San Diego. I did move up north, Central Coast for college. And then when I was working as an engineer, I lived in San Francisco, Sacramento, and then I moved to Arizona for a bit. So all these different areas, but I came back to San Diego, and when I did, that's when I made that leap.
So as far as, getting started and giving yourself that 1 year, so pretty much you were making, good money working as an engineer, then you quit and started doing the magic. Did you already have a gig lined up, your first, gig lined up before you quit? Were you doing small gigs in between as you were?
I was, even though when I was an engineer, I would do stuff on the side, on the weekends, nights, whenever I could. I never really had anything lined up because, as an engineer, I didn't really pursue going out and looking for gigs. If something came my way, fantastic. But my focus was engineering, and but when I made that leap, everything changed. My mentality of everything changed, and now I had to go and hunt things down and look for it, because you never know when your next show is going to come in.
At that point, did you already, since you were working as an engineer, I assume you had pretty good income to be able to start off with a very nice website. Did you start off with a nice website? Did you already have pictures and videos over the years to just go bam, or did you slowly build?
Good question. This is probably my third website. The first website I made myself, and I was happy for it in the moment, and it served as having a website. I think that's one of the two key things when you're going full time is at least have a business card and at least have a website.
Mm-hmm.
Then I progressed to a different platform, also built myself, and it was Squarespace, one of those things you can plug in, and I got a lot of compliments on that website, but it wasn't professionally built by me, and I'm sure there was ins and outs that I was unaware of that would make a website better, and so I progressed, and now the website that I have is professionally done by a third party.
So some clients that I work with, I try to encourage them to, post on their Instagram stories, their reviews. You have 156 reviews on your website on Google.
Yes. I do after every show is done, I do ask for a review. I don't beg for it or anything like that. It's like anything else. When somebody feels so strongly about something, they're gonna give a review. But that those reviews are over a long span of time.
Right. Since what year did you say that you decided to quit your job and do it full time?
I went full time in 2017. The end of 2017. Yeah.
And also, you've been on the San Diego news channels. So, if you don't care to kind of walk us through your strategy to release, you say you worked on it full time. So, what all did you really do as far as cold calling? How did you find new people to hire you? Did you get new gigs from? If say you do a gig, you do a show, and then there's people in the audience, they go and they tell everybody else, and they call you. Did you hand out business cards after the shows? What was your strategy on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy in going full time, right? And there's people always ask me, oh, how do people find out about you? And there's a lot of different ways. My website, word of mouth. As you're performing, you're simultaneously networking, right? So definitely hand out cards. I don't hand out cards to every single person. Yeah. I mean, do what you want. A lot of what we do is a numbers game. I feel like if somebody's really enjoying it, or maybe this person has a potential to hire me or knows people, or a lot of times they'll ask me, do you have a card? And I'll give it to them. So that's, one good way to get your name out there. And then, I work with entertainment agencies, in my area, and it's different. I don't want you to get confused with having a manager, because I don't have a manager. A manager is somebody that specifically looks out for you, whereas an entertainment agency will, somebody will come to them and they'll say, hey, we need entertainment. And they say, great, we have a band, we have a fire eater, we have a magician, we have a juggler. And so you will be one of many options, but it is great because they will bring in business that you would have not otherwise have gotten.
Do they just take a percentage of each gig, or is it a monthly rate?
What's good about an entertainment agency is they don't necessarily take a percentage. They will give you the show info and say how much you're going to charge. Let's say you charge $1,000, for example. They will then go to the end client and say, okay, Derek's $1,500. So they'll take $500 and give me the $1,000 that I asked for. So you tell them what's going to make you happy. It doesn't really matter. Maybe they charge $4,000 and give you $1,000 and take $3,000. As long as you're happy with the $1,000, don't worry about what they're taking. You know what I mean?
How did you get an entertainment agency on board? Did you contact them, or you might have said it? I think you might have said it, but I overheard. Did you contact them, or they contact you?
No, I probably didn't mention it. And I work with several, and I would say the majority of them I've contacted them, and I think it's very important, for a person to look at the agencies in their area, contact them, let them know you exist, introduce yourself, offer to go in so they can meet you and even see some of your magic. And even if they work with other magicians, not everyone's available all the time. So it's going to be great for you to be a part of their database.
So you said a good point. You said them. You don't just work with one agency. You work with multiple entertainment agencies in the area.
That's correct. Yeah.
There's not a contract or anything that you're only working with one.
No, because think about it. You're an independent contractor, right? So it's as if like you're, let's say a house painter, and you go and you paint, this home over here. They can't tell you, well, we don't want you to go and paint our neighbor's house. That's not right. That's not fair. It's not how it works. This is your living. You're an independent contractor, and so there's nothing that says you can't work with another agency.
So I guess to find an entertainment agency, you can just simply Google search your area, your city, your town, whatever, and it will bring them up. And did you do any research on them to know who was the one to go with and who was the ones that might not even be worth the effort? Did you contact anybody else and ask for reviews on them?
Especially when I was just starting out, going full time, for me, it was a numbers game. I was reaching out to anybody in the area. There was cold calls, there was emails, there was, going door to door, not quite,
Right.
But yeah, I did anything. I was willing to do street magic. I remember there's a place down here in San Diego called the Liberty Station Public Market. It's kind of, a lot of cities have this where it's, an enclosed area, and every section or booth is somebody selling, mostly food, but they might have little knickknacks, crafts, jewelry. But then there was one kind of like area where people would eat, and there was a bar. And I asked them, can I go and perform there? And they said, yeah, we don't really have a budget. And although I felt my skills were kind of above that at that point for working for free, again, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make a living.
Now, there are several magicians in San Diego. I introduced you to my friend Colin Nye. He's a 30-year member now of Magic Castle.
Yeah.
I know a couple other professional magicians in San Diego, but I live in a small town here. The little town I live in only has like 50,000 people, so the market would be totally different here versus there. But one thing about me here is I'm probably the only magician, within probably 50 miles or 100 miles or something. So did you ever, look into your competition in the area and how to outmarket them? Because I really like your branding, your photos and everything about, your website and your overall branding says, okay, this guy here, he's legit. So how did you get into that? Did you slowly ramp up to it, getting better quality videos? I see your camera equipment, better quality pictures. Did you just get, wife, girlfriend, or whatever to take the pictures for you? Did you hire somebody?
Yeah, thank you for your compliments. Yeah, as far as the competition, San Diego is just small enough where it's not LA or Vegas, where every other person is your competition. There's a select few good magicians in town. I would say maybe, a max of 5. And we're all friendly. And if I can't do a show, I'll pass it off to them, and vice versa. And then as far as, video and footage, a lot of that comes, over time. In fact, a lot of times, if you're doing a corporate event, will be a photographer around, and there's nothing wrong with you asking them and saying, hey, is there, any way I can get a hold of the footage or the pictures you've taken of me? And most of the time they'll say, no problem. Here's my card, email me, or they might go through the client. And 99% of the time, there's not a problem with that.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Speaking on corporate events, how did you get your first corporate event?
Man, I can't remember. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 18 years. So I've done corporate events before I went full time. Likely it was somebody referring me, another magician, or it was something where they couldn't do the job, or they needed more than one magician, and so they would do it alongside with me.
Have you ever looked at doing trade shows?
I haven't done a ton of trade shows. I have done some, and they are good, and it's a very good market to get into. The problem with trade shows is they're a very difficult market to get into. So a lot of times trade shows are something that are passed down from other magicians. The good thing about a trade show is that if you get in with a company or a couple companies, they'll do 3-4 trade shows throughout the year, and essentially you'll become part of their team. So they do a trade show in Los Angeles, you're there. They do a trade show in New York, you're there. And they do these year after year. So it's a great and I say easy, but once you get in, then you're part of it's a reoccurring event oftentimes.
It's sort of a steadier source of income than most sort of gigs.
Yes, it can be a very steady income. Like I said, it can be very lucrative. It's a lot of work because you're on your feet quite a bit and you're doing multiple shows. But I think it's good if that's the type of market you prefer. And it also forces you to really expand your knowledge, not only on magic, but on just being able to take somebody's product and company and message and intertwine that in your magic. And you got to really think about that, and there's a lot that goes into that, and it's very, respected.
So you were an engineer. I'm just curious, what type of engineering did you study and actually go in for work?
Yeah, I was a structural engineer. So like a civil would do everything horizontal, right? Bridges, roadways, water and so forth. Structural is all vertical, right? Everything from the high rises, hospitals, schools, everything from the floor to the roof.
So everything that you've studied over the years in regards to engineering, have you tried creating your own gimmicks or effects? Not necessarily effects. I know you said you do that, but how do you think your professional studies in engineering has helped you with your magic business or your magic profession, your art, I guess?
Yeah, no, good question. To be honest with you, I think I did enjoy being an engineer, and I enjoyed the challenges that came along with it. But I think a lot of the ways that I've been able to take from engineering and adapted it to magic is the business side, right? So prior to being an engineer,
Right.
maybe I worked part-time at Best Buy or something. As an engineer, I learned, like I said, a lot of the business side, and it's funny when it comes down to business, it doesn't matter if you're an engineer or a magician, it's all the same. You're still writing proposals, you're still writing contracts, you're providing a goods and services for money, and networking and being able to do business development is all very important. And again, no matter what the profession is, it all comes down to business.
So like they say that engineers have to be very attention to detail oriented. One miscalculation can really cost a lot of money, and damages and everything. So how attention to detail are you as far as your magic profession? Like I've worked with some people, and they talk about how they're afraid to post things on Instagram because it's not just perfect, So are you in the beginning? Did you have like a hindrance of doing your own marketing, social media? I guess what I'm trying to say, were you overly analytical to the point where it held you back, or did you finally just run with it? What was your approach on how you handled your public perception of you and your magic?
Yeah, I would say I am very analytical, logical, pay attention to detail, and that has served me in my magic because ultimately magic is a form of art, and it's our way of entertaining, and magic is our choice of medium. But I personally pride myself in not just the entertaining, in the mechanics of it, and I want my mechanics to be good, to be on point, And to me, that's very important. And so I take a lot of time in making sure that that's, going to be on par.
So, how many episodes ago was it, Dan? We had Dwayne Hill on here. Do you remember, like 5 or 6 episodes ago?
Yes. I don't know what episode it was. It's been a while since I actually looked at the YouTube channel. But yeah, we had Dwayne on.
So
Dwayne's a corporate magician from Florida. You may not have heard of him, Derek, but he travels around the country doing corporate stage shows, and he was speaking to us quite in detail about the business side of it, and similar to what we're talking about now. But Dwayne's is going to be doing a lecture in Blackpool, the Blackpool Magic Convention, literally just about business.
And the reason that I bring him up, Derek, is because he says that, he has, old school Excel spreadsheets tracking every little metric. He tracks everything from, the marketing that he does for billboards, the returns on that based on, people, visiting the sites to a specific link or whatever. So what type of tracking do you do, business analytics to see what's effective and what isn't effective?
Yeah, no, that is important, and I know another magician, Eric Anderson, which does that. He'll have different phone numbers or different websites, so he's able to track, what marketing strategies are working. I guess I've never done it to that extent, but I do keep track of all my clients, the dates, the fees, everything. I think it's very important to have what's called a CRM, which is stands for client relation management. And it's another thing that as an engineer we had too, because again, you're going to have clients and you have jobs and you need to keep all this stuff straight. And the one advantage of that is you begin to create a database of clients, and you reach out to them, mass emails or whatever, maybe don't obviously overdo it, 2 to 4 times a year. And again, it becomes a numbers game.
That's kind of giving me an idea. If you were to do some sort of gig or whatever, and incorporate that into one of your magic routines to get everybody to sign up for something and use that for them as join a mailing list and make it into an effect. So that way, every show, whatever, you can do some sort of effect where you're getting everybody's email address to do direct marketing.
Yeah,
so that. I'm sorry to cut you off, Derek.
Yeah.
I actually do something with Instagram. Right, on Instagram, you've got that layout of the sort of tiles when you go on someone's page, and if you scroll down on mine, you'll see that there's the 2 hearts plastered across. It's split across 9 images. So I've got a prediction built into my Instagram page that basically takes up the whole screen when you scroll down a little bit. So that works as a reveal, and also you see that little blue button and you press it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean it's all what you want. If you want Instagram followers, do an Instagram effect. If you want email followers, do an effect that requires their email.
The direct marketing, before I forget, how effective has it been, shooting out emails to people? If you're only working in the San Diego area, as opposed to traveling all over, whenever you send out direct marketing through emails, do you just say, hey, I have a show coming up, it's open invite, or have you actually been able to track to see if that actually ended up to them booking you for their own gig?
Yeah. I do a lot of theaters as well, like the Magic Castle, the Chicago Magic Lounge, Prestige and Mystique. And so, if I am somewhere public, especially if it's in San Diego or near San Diego, I shoot out a mass email and let everyone know, because the majority of what I do, you can't just come up and see me whenever you want. You have to hire me for an event. So these are a good opportunity because when I do a gig and I say, hey, if you like that, You want to come back, bring your friends, family, other people that aren't here at this corporate event, here's where I'm going to be. You can buy a ticket, or maybe it's restaurant magic or whatever that may be. They can come back and see you.
Okay. So we've got through that pretty good. So one thing that just came to my head was we talked to a lot of people in different areas, different cities, from New York City to Chicago to a small town like me to, Las Vegas, San Diego, whatever. And
to Leeds.
Yeah, then across the pond over there. But did you have any limiting beliefs in the beginning? You said that whenever you decided to do it, you decided I'm going to do it and go for it, and things changed. How much, holding you back? I have this good job. I'm secure right now. I might not be able to make it. Did you have any limiting beliefs? And if you did, how did you overcome them?
Well, part of it too was, even though I was happy with my job and my employer, as an engineer, it's, as you can imagine, it's pretty stressful. Although I was very happy with my company, but when I moved back to San Diego, I was forced to switch companies, and I was not happy with that latest company. And so that made it easier for me to be like, you know what, I can either go and look for another company, and maybe I like them, maybe I don't, or I can go and do what I know I love. And so I didn't feel very limited at that point. I can understand if somebody is super happy in their career, or they're making really good money. Maybe it's difficult, or maybe, you have a family and kids. Personally, I wasn't single, but I had a very serious girlfriend, which is now my wife. But I looked at my other engineers, and whether they were happy or not, what were they going to do? They had a family. They couldn't go back to school. I was fortunate enough to have another skill that I can do.
So they say that, in general, savings for finance, you should have at least 6 months of your expenses or whatever, saved in case something emergency were to happen. How much of a buffer did you have, to be able to feel comfortable committing to that decision? Did you have a full year's of expenses saved? Did you have couple months?
I don't remember exactly. I did have a buffer. I did. It wasn't like, oh man, if I don't get another show, I'm gonna go starving, or I'm not gonna be able to pay rent. And if somebody is thinking of making this transition, I would try and have a little bit of a buffer. For some reason, Americans are not very good at saving money, but it's important, especially you become a full-time magician. No one's paying for your retirement. No one's going to match the amount of money you put in. You got to be smart about that yourself.
Yeah. I'm assuming you were fully vested if you had a 401k, with your previous company, right? So you wouldn't have lost that by quitting early.
Yeah, I did. I had a 401k with them and everything, and they were matching stuff, and, that had to go away, and everything fell on me. And it's not to say that you can't put money aside, or you can't find a private investment company to invest your money, which I have done. I just think that, you should have a little bit of a buffer, or maybe, maybe you're living with your parents, or maybe your wife or girlfriend, and they're able to kind of, create that buffer for you at first.
So working.
How hard was it?
Go ahead, Dan.
We always butt into each other at the same time. It's the problem with it being on Zoom is that you can't really read people's social cues through a camera. Like I can't tell if he's about to say something yet or not. You know what I mean? And the same the other way, because we're in the same room. But
I'm just trying to hurry up and get through all the things I want to ask.
You see this? Have you seen this? I mean, it's crazy how he does this. But I was going to ask if you had a buffer going into the pandemic, and if that sort of shook your confidence in whether this was going to be a career path or not.
That's a good question, Dan, and it was scary. Like everyone else in the world, I also thought this is going to last a couple of weeks, and so I sat down and started organizing my magic and playing. And after a couple of weeks, I thought, man, right about now would be really good to be an engineer again. And I thought, do I go back? Do I go get a whatever job? Like, what do I do? And again, it wasn't an easy decision leaving engineering and going full-time magic. And so I didn't want to just give that up so quickly. So, I won't say that I was the first person to come up with it, but I think I was kind of on the forefront, and figured out a virtual show. What would it look like? What would I do? How would my methods change? Would my effects change? And that, completely evolved from the beginning to the end. My virtual show changed so much, not only from the actual show, but my equipment, the camera, the lighting. At first I had a very difficult time charging a lot of money, because I'm charging them this money that I don't really know what I'm doing. And as my show evolved and the technical side of it got better, I felt more and more comfortable charging more.
What would you charge to begin with for a virtual show?
It was probably anywhere from like $100 to $300.
And virtual shows, like I was mentioning about limiting beliefs, like when the COVID pandemic first started, I was hearing a bunch of people, doing virtual shows because they pretty much had to survive. And I remember a thought in my head is like, man, who the hell would pay for a virtual magic show? But
I thought the same thing.
But it worked. So that was limiting belief, but it did work.
It did. And like I said, I thought exactly the same as you. I said, this is never going to translate. Even in person, people don't believe what I'm doing. So how are they going to buy this over a camera? But so it was limiting, but I also remember I didn't have a choice.
Right.
So same thing as going full time. When this is your full-time income, you're going to do what you need to do. Likely or similarly, if you were to have to hold your breath underwater and you knew whenever you want, you can just come up, versus you have no choice. You're going to hold your breath longer when you have no choice.
David Blaine did it for what, 17, 18 minutes?
Yeah.
I tried holding my breath for like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes was my max.
That's even really good. Yeah.
You can hear my kids screaming upstairs.
How to slow down or whatever. But yeah, I just have a couple more questions, Dan. I hate to control the floor here. We're limited on time because we both do. So working as engineering, like I'm not really too familiar with the pay scale of engineering, but I'm assuming, as you start as a beginner engineer, pay here, and then over time it probably gradually goes up, right? But with magic, you have the potential to go from here to exponential growth. Have you seen exponential growth over 2017 to now?
Another great question, Alex. Yes, 100%. So people have this belief that engineers, make a ton of money. And the truth is, at the beginning, you really don't make a lot of money. It really does take a long time to get up there. Once you maybe principal of a company, then you start to make, a lot more money. But that might take a dozen or so years. With magic, I have seen in exponential growth in just 5 years from when I started to now. Every single year has gotten better than the previous year.
And that's tying back to what I was talking about Dwayne Hill. He said that when he tracks his metrics, 1 year he started tracking one specific thing, and the next year he's able to bring that up by 20,000 just by tracking in that.
Yeah, no, and that's important, and everyone is a little bit more analytical than the next person. And I never necessarily looked at, okay, this one brought me more money than this one. But I do keep track of everything. And obviously, in the corporate world, it's going to be a little bit more lucrative. And it helps that's just my bread and butter. You're probably not going to go from being a kid's magician and saying, oh, I need to make more money, and doing the corporate world, unless that fits who you are and your personality.
Okay. So if you were to try to walk somebody through, the path of, becoming full-time in magic, what would be your, let's say, 3 tips?
3 tips. Oh man, good question.
You can take your time too if you need to.
Yeah. Get at least a restaurant. Very important, right? The more you're working, the more you're out there, the better you are. The more perceive that you're working, the more people you meet. I would say that's number 1. Number 2, reach out to those entertainment agencies. And number 3, go on something like, Gig Masters, because again, you are going to pay a little bit for it, but oftentimes one show throughout an entire year is going to make up for what you pay for it. And again, these are leads that you would not have otherwise have gotten.
And then that ties into, obviously, you need a website, a nice looking website, business cards. So people searching on those will bring you up, the search listing. Searching.
Correct. Yes. I didn't mention that here. I mentioned that before. I think it's important. You go and you're performing for somebody and they say, do you have a card? And you say, no. Do you have a website? No. I mean, yeah, you can give them your phone number, but it's interesting that, people don't often know what magic is. They don't know what you can do, what it's like, and something visual will speak 1,000 words. So if you have a great website, but you're not very good, people are going to see, man, this website looks amazing, and so I'm not saying don't be good and have a good website, do both. But I think
if you're serious enough about your business to, hire a professional designer to make a nice website, chances are you'll be attention to detail oriented enough to be pretty good at what you do. That's what I've found from working with clients in different, businesses.
100%. Yeah. And a lot of that website content comes from, the pictures and videos that you yourself acquire, because your website company can't make it up. You have to provide it to them. How did you
decide to position yourself in the marketplace? Like some magicians want to be like the Chris Angels, the mind freaks and whatever. That probably isn't your personality. So is your branding pretty much in line with who you are as far as, your professional attitude and your appearance, like the corporate effect or the corporate looks, wearing suits and whatever? Did you have an aha moment that, I need to be a nice, dressed magician, to make more money? Or was it like, hey, this is just kind of more about who I am?
Maybe a little bit of both. Obviously, like the whole Chris Angel thing, like it wouldn't work well if you're, very clean cut person and all of a sudden you're wearing, nail polish and eyeliner and wearing all black and a leather jacket. It's just not who you are. I'm all about having a character, but make that character an exaggeration of who you are. It's going to be 10 times easier for you.
All right. I apologize for dominating here for the past 30 minutes. That wraps up my questions. Dan, it's all yours.
So when you were saying about creating a character, I've actually been thinking about making a character-based show where, like, the magic is performed in character. Kind of like how Borat works, where Borat's playing a character and he does stupid stuff.
Right.
I was thinking, what kind of stupid characters could you have to perform magic? Like, what would be the weirdest sort of magician that you could become to then entertain people on camera, but then it also be like a funny experience, for like YouTube or TV or whatever. If you were going to exaggerate yourself to the point of to the point of it seeming silly, what do you think your character would look like?
Me personally, man, that's a tough question. I don't know. I mean, like I said, my character is maybe, like I said, an exaggerated form of myself. So I kind of play the suave, Rico Suave, slick, suited up magician. But if I were to go and do, like a complete different character, it would be tough because that's not necessarily who I am. Like I'm fun and I love to have fun with my audience. You'll never catch me being the David Blaine and being very serious, So it'd have to be a character that came easy to me.
What about a stunned California guy, like, yeah, dude, like, you're gonna take a card, man, like, whoa.
I mean, you can come up with any character, that makes sense to you. If you are a stoner on the weekends, maybe easier for you to do that on a regular basis. Or, if you speak another language, maybe you act like, you have an accent, or, you don't understand what's going on, or maybe you want to
So would you children like to see the magic tricks?
exactly, right?
What have you ever thought about doing a character like he's saying, like Magician X, Mark Spellman? Ever thought about doing something completely anonymous and trying to go for one of the talent shows?
Yeah. I mean, that's a character to an extent. Everyone's their own character, and some people don't enjoy talking. Like that's why some magicians will do a lot of things to music. And a mask is, I think of a lot of people feel maybe protected or covered, in their mask. Like some people feel protected behind a table. Oh, look, there it is. It's like a kabuki mask. I love it.
So it's one of the V for Vendetta masks. It's just a black mask.
Nice. That's funny. Yeah.
Guy Fawkes.
What's that?
Yeah.
Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
It's Guy Fawkes in the V for Vendetta.
Oh, right.
It was a bloke who tried to destroy Parliament. Where our government is, like the White House or whatever.
Sure.
And I think it was about 400 years ago. I think it was 1600. I'm not sure. This geezer called Guy Fawkes. Whose name was not Guy Fawkes. He was called Guido or something or other, but it's from Spain. He came over and he placed loads of barrels of gunpowder underneath the Houses of Parliament and got caught and then tortured and executed. And then we have in England, we have a day of on November the 5th. That's when we have the bonfire night, where we have all the fireworks and we burn bonfires and stuff.
I didn't realize that was an actual, kind of like holiday. It's not an official holiday, though, right? It's
this country's weird. Yes, it is.
What do you call that holiday?
Bonfire night.
Oh,
or Guy Fawkes night, because what people used to do is they used to make an effigy, almost like a scarecrow, and that would be a guy, which is where the expression "penny for a guy" comes on, because people used to make a guy, Guy Fawkes, like a sort of a scarecrow, and then throw that on the fire, because apparently we love the government.
The Brits, man, the Brits.
Have you?
Apparently, Brits love the government.
Have you traveled to England or did any shows overseas yet?
I have traveled to England. I actually have family in England. So I have been to England. I've been to Blackpool. As far as done shows overseas, Mexico might be the only one. I did just get back from an Alaskan cruise. Obviously, it's not overseas, but that was a lot of fun, and it was quite the travel. And it's one of the great things.
As a cruise magician, or
yeah, I was on stage. It was a great experience. I was on one of the most beautiful stages I've ever been on. 700 plus seat theater. Did 2 different shows, both of them twice in a night, but not every night. But it's great because as a magician, you were going to be able to do things and see things that you would have normally not done. I think it was Marvin Roy who said, as a magician, you may never be a millionaire, but you'll live like one sometimes.
Yeah. Every cruise that I've ever been on, back when I used to drink, I would always be slosh drunk when I'd go to the comedy shows, and I didn't, being a heckler for the most part, because I'd be so slosh. So how is cruise shows compared to, outside? Do you tend to deal with a lot more drunk people, or is it pretty much no different for magic?
No, I wouldn't say there was a ton of drunk people. It was great. They're there to be entertained, that they're on a cruise to have fun. And what's cool about cruises is that you get to interact with the audience, before, during, and after that show. And so, oftentimes you come off that stage and people see you around the ship and you're treated like a celebrity.
So that's like you got to really be on your toes and always be prepared, because you have your stage show, but then when you're out on your own time, people are like, hey man, show me something.
Yes, yes. I mean, I wouldn't say it was, excessive or anything, but I always have a deck of cards on me anyways. And so yeah, it's nice, and they feel special, because they saw something that not everyone else got to see. And I mean, isn't that largely why we do what we do, is to make somebody feel a certain way?
So I'm Joe Smith. Right? I'm Joe Smith. I come up to you and I say, and you've just finished a show on the cruise ship, and you need to get to the buffet, otherwise it's going to close. Right? To get your tea, right? Your dinner. And you've got a pack of cards on you. What card trick do you show me?
I might show you Triumph. That's classic. It's good. It's fast. And it's powerful.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite effects. I love the invisible deck as well, because it's like a Triumph. It's like the mentalism version of the Triumph, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Has that same feel to it.
I hate to say it, but we got about 10 minutes. So if you want to wrap up with any further questions, any final words, I hate that we have to run it so fast, but we all have things to do. So,
yeah, I've got to head off to a show, and I think I've got about a very similar amount of time.
The only other thing I'll mention is that I know my information will be out there, and if anybody has any questions, I'm an open book, and I know a lot of people are very keep things close, but I mean, I love what I do. I haven't looked back a single day since I made this transition, and
awesome, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, who am I to keep this love and passion for myself? If there's anything anyone wants to reach out, ask questions, I'm happy to help out.
And so to wrap this up, one question and one question only: do you believe in magic?
I have 100%. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. There's many different forms of magic, and maybe what we do is kind of that form, outwardly, but everybody has their own versions of magic, and it's powerful in its own way, whether that's an art form or maybe the way somebody loves somebody is a form of magic.
Love is magic.
It truly is.
All right, thanks so much for coming on, Derek.
I got one more question. One final.
No, you don't. We're finished talking now. Go on.
Okay, so I really enjoy talking about the business side of magic. We did several podcasts. We went all over the place and just asking silly things to serious things, but I really enjoyed this episode. Would you be interested in maybe doing another call and we get Dwayne Hill on here? Both of you have a very nice business aspect for your magicking career. Would you be interested in doing another follow-up episode sometime down the line with Dwayne?
Oh, 100%.
We can maybe speak to Lance as well.
Yeah,
Lance Bowen.
Him in years.
He's Wales' biggest top geezer.
Yeah. No, I would definitely be interested in that. I mean, you can always learn from other people, and a person should always know that and respect other people and respect other people's ideas, because there's we all come from different paths of life in different knowledge bases, and so it'd be great. I think it'd be good for me and Dwayne, and most importantly, be good for the listeners.
Well, I'm very glad that scammer called me and advertised you for free.
Yeah, no, it's really funny how we connected, but I'm glad as well, Alex.
But I just wonder how did they find your website to try to say, oh, we made his website?
That's a good question. I don't know. They probably just scanned and saw that we like this website. Let's tell them we made this one.
Was your area code still 619
Yeah.
when they called you?
You're right. That's what it is. Yeah, because I haven't changed my phone number still.
Yeah, that's why they're
okay. They're like, oh, magicians in San Diego. Shit. Genius. Yeah. Genius, Dan.
Yeah, I have that effect on people. You may think it's genius, but I come from humble beginnings, and I won't possibly better. mention that. So Derek, thanks so much for coming on. It's been brilliant talking to you, and like I look forward to speaking to you in the future as well because you seem like a really cool dude. And
I'm glad.
And to everyone at home, thanks for sticking it out. Get to Derek's website, which we will link underneath here. Check out my website, danielrivington.com. Check out AJ. Was it ajmagic.com?
Well, that's what I sell merch on. AJ Media Magic. I make websites.
Yeah,
I help professionals, not just magicians, with their branding and marketing.
Yeah, buy his shit too. Right. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Hey, do you have any merch though?
Merch like stickers and shirts?
Yeah, hats, shirts, whatever.
I don't. I don't, man.
Okay, I'll cut that out.
Would you like someone? Would you like someone to procure some for you?
Would I like someone to what?
Procure some for you.
Maybe it's not a bad idea, especially for public shows. Why not? It's nice to have your name.
You might want to speak to ajmedia.com and they may be able to hook you up.
That is a service that I offer, but with him being in San Diego, I almost guarantee I can get everything. Hats. These are nice, snapback hats. I guarantee I can get these a lot cheaper than you could source them locally in San Diego. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Let's chat about that, man. I like that.
All right.
One word: China.
Well, no. Well, I mean, these, I don't know where these are.
I'm joking. It was just a really bad Donald Trump impression.
Yeah.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, these hats, so they cost.
Is that where they get embroidered?
No, I get them embroidered, here in my town. But these hats, they cost me about $15, and I sell them for $40.
Oh, okay, nice.
And that's
You're not supposed to tell people. You're not supposed to tell people your fucking sales margin on it.
I really don't care. It's not a big deal. It's business. If, people don't understand I'm trying to make a profit, they probably shouldn't be buying my shit anyway.
Yeah.
But, all right, guys, I'm gonna stop the recording and we'll do a couple follow up here. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching.
All right, guys. Cheers.